Hi, if you want to watch exclusive content with hot girls that you won't watch on YouTube, namely where Naruto roasts Kushina and Mikoto and many other hot girls without restrictions, then visit my Boosty channel at the link in the description. I throw another smooth pebble, and it rushes along the silvery surface, mysteriously shimmering in the moonlight, leaving streaks on the water. For a while, such entertainment calms me down, but a waste of time is not what is really needed now. Need? What a mysterious word. Sometimes I often confuse what is really needed and what is important. And am I in a condition to spout philosophical nonsense? Although, what difference does it make? The council will not begin until I arrive, since the presence of the village chief is mandatory. I gaze into the distance for a few more minutes and breathe in the cool, refreshing air, and then leave. What does it mean to live here? Many generations of shinobi have given their lives for the protection and prosperity of Konohagakure, but even their loyalty and honor cannot justify extravagance and madness. Some of them were too self-confident and subject to ambition, as any other people are. I have thought a lot about Konoha's external conflicts and internal regulations, and have come to the conclusion that our system is far from ideal. The activities of other Hokage were effective and significant, but by no means productive. I would prefer more restrained measures that would allow us to preserve the younger generation, rather than destroy it before the development of full-fledged shinobi, who were supposed to become the backbone of the village. We deprived ourselves of a future. What can I say? The psyche of adolescence is subject to breakdowns, and any misfortune can turn them into embittered, uncontrollable killers. Of course, experience and skills are acquired through constant practice, but war sows discord and hatred, so I am against the youth going out on serious missions outside the village. First, they should be taught the art of cooling the heart and freezing the mind, since not every excitement is permissible. I would change a lot, but while I am in the body of a teenager, I cannot reveal my role in everything that is happening. The third Hokage passed the title to me as his successor after my father's death, but a 12-year-old boy at the head of the village is more than strange. My main mission was the role of a capricious boy, and what can I say, it was difficult for me. Constant lessons at the academy became sheer torture, and I had to lower the level of skills in order to spite Irika. Yes, and this feigned despair that I played out because of the hatred of the adult generation of Konoha tired me. I could not tell them that I did not care, because it would have been out of plan. After all, a little boy is unlikely to be able to overcome his despondency due to unpleasant public opinion. QB often tells me that people actually believe my lies. Yes, I have noticed myself that as soon as I make a mistake, they are no longer surprised. They are used to considering me a fool. Do you really think you should participate in the Chunin exams? QB asks in a calm voice, as if floating out from beyond the confines of my subconscious. I wince. His constant habit of popping up unexpectedly doesn't help my already sour mood. But I dream of becoming Hokage. How can I just give up on such an aspiration? I say mentally. I can just see the fox's sly smile. I forgot. It's been seeming to me for a long time that you're an old grumpy ant. I don't see you. I look at the world through your eyes. QB justifies himself. I remember. You live as a parasite. I joke, trying to tease the fox and respond to his mockery. But mind you, I am useful, he adds indifferently. Yes, it was QB who became my educator and guide in this life. After my father sealed the fox inside me, the nine-tailed demon was unable to keep the memories under control due to the hatred that was eating away at it. The failure led to the childish worldview and consciousness quickly developing, although the fox was deliberately blocking my power. It did not want to share its knowledge with a human, because humans had imprisoned it in a child's body and deprived it of freedom. But time passed, and I matured beyond my years, physically remaining a fragile and small fool. When we had our first conversation, I gave solid arguments so that the demon would understand that cooperation was the best way out of the current situation. By that time, I was about 5 years old, but I could already say with certainty that QB's hatred for its Jinchuriki had faded. I won't answer how our friendship began. Most likely, we understood each other's positions. It was hard for me to be around people my age, and the fox guessed that I understood what it meant to be misunderstood by anyone. He tried to start living in harmony with me, and our joint training was beneficial to our general physical condition. We still couldn't come to terms with the fact that we had to inhabit a child's body, so we looked for solutions. Thanks to the QB chakra, I managed to penetrate Konoha's information field, but the energy release was so powerful and colossal that I was in a daze for some time. But when I woke up, I became a different person. Emotions and joy of life faded. If earlier I could admire nature or human skills, but then all this faded into the background. QB explained that he feels only rage since it feeds him, but I felt nothing. No pain, no happiness, no peace. The apathy that came gave me omnipotence, but took away the ability to understand people. You pay for everything. I became Hokage, but I did not achieve inner harmony and peace. The only thing I still sacredly protected was the village. True patriotism was not burned out by those troubles that I saw in the memories of the fox and the history of Konoha. All for my own. I will probably die with this credo. Sakura, I shout, noticing the pink-haired girl. She looks at me, squinting her green eyes in displeasure. If only you knew, girl, what I really need right now, besides another performance. I hope that the girl is at least a little flattered by my attention, otherwise it's completely useless. What do you want, Naruto? She asked sadly, not enjoying the company. How appropriate this question is, but I won't answer. The exam is coming soon. I'll definitely beat Sasuke. I boast, adding cheerful and self-confident notes to my voice. QB chuckles quietly and falls silent in my subconscious. I don't think so, Naruto. Sasuke has been training for several days in a row. Yes, and he is the best shinobi in our team. The words about the object of adoration make the girl sigh from the romantic memories that have come flooding back. Nonsense. I wave it off. And why are you wandering around at night, Sakura? She blushes and starts wringing her hands. Just like that. I can't sleep. It's strange that she doesn't want to tell me how she went to Uchiha, and he refused to train with her. I know everything in my village. Good night, Sakura. I'm going home, I say goodbye. She's probably happy that the annoying boy is leaving. I am too, by the way, but I still have to maintain interpersonal relationships with my peers. Tonight promises me an analysis of the mistakes, misfires and blunders of my subordinates at the council. They will probably appreciate my desire to participate in the exam, but they will warn me not to hurt the children. Suddenly my peripheral vision catches movement, and I turn around. For some reason, the third sudden appearance does not surprise me. He looks at me suspiciously, lighting his favorite pipe. The acrid smoke hits my nose, and I can't help but sneeze. Kurama is unbearably irritated by the Hokage's habit of appearing unexpectedly, because the old man claims the fox's individual trick. Most of all, I am annoyed by the concentrated silence of the wise man. You are not in a hurry. The advisors gathered half an hour ago, and it seems their patience is not limitless. You know that disrespect is worse than any other oversight, Sarutobi begins without greeting. He sometimes allows himself to read me boring lectures or make small reprimands, and I admit, it is not always so undeserved. I understand that they are in a hurry to rest after hard work. Have you sent out notifications to the other Kage that Kanehigakure is ready to take responsibility for holding the exam? I ask in an indifferent voice. For those to whom I revealed myself. It was customary to see my real face without falsehood, and without the masquerade tinsel for the others who ate my pretend bait. Yes, the day before yesterday. You will also express a desire to go for a promotion in rank, right? The old man already knows the answer. He walks slowly next to me and thinks about his own. It would be strange if I refused. The whole village knows about my dream. I recall. Kurama's lips formed an ugly grin, indicating a sweet smile. Yes, I thought about it too. But we were recently informed that Orochimaru is showing a remarkable interest in the exam, so we should be wary of the invasion of the Sanin's pawns, the old man warns. The sharply outlined longitudinal wrinkles on the third's forehead, and the bridge of his nose make it clear to me that he is truly worried. Well, if the fugitive missing Nin has decided to please Konoha with his presence, then I will honor him by receiving him with dignity. However, whatever Orochimaru's plans are, it is better for me to find out about them from him as soon as possible. My participation in the exam is becoming a necessity. A spy who will watch everything from the pawn field is much more useful than blind queens, I answer after thinking. Sarutobi nods with satisfaction, agreeing. It seems we understood each other. We reached the building in silence. The night curtain hides part of the moon, and a dim light barely seeps to the ground. From such lighting, the outlines of trees and houses are distorted and appear before us as ugly figures. The long corridor is empty, and the hoarse breathing of the old man, tiredly dragging himself behind me, is audible. He has exhausted his strength, and the energy of life will soon leave him. I understand that he will stubbornly continue to deal with the affairs of the village, although the third's health does not allow it. Old age. Am I also destined to die exhausted beyond measure? We approach the council's secret meeting room, and I open the massive door. The 5 councilors present bow their heads, paying respect to the strongest. I walk to my place at the head of the table, and announce the beginning of the council. Few people know the ancient shinobi who are part of this council, since some of them never stood out in any way and did not participate in the management of the village, so as not to give away their uniqueness, while others have long since died in the minds and memory of the population of Konoha. But the old dogs, covered in dust and antiquity, not having any special physical strength, could give the young a head start in scholarship. The residents of Konoha believe that those close to the Hokage form an advisory body, so they do not suspect the existence of a secret council that rules the village. My advisors accepted me as a 7-year-old boy when Sarutobi brought my physical form into this gloomy room. They looked at the frail child in silence, but age could not deceive them. In the blue eyes the elders saw a pool, and beyond it time, which I absorbed with the memories of Kurama and Konoha, like a baby with its mother's milk. They never treated me with hospitality, but took me for granted. I later realized that they had 1 foot over the line, and no longer thought like creatures of the sublunary world. Our discussion, tempered by the coldness and insensitivity of both parties, does not last long, and having found another food for thought connected with the main affairs of the village, they retire. The faithful guardians of well-being leave the room in a menacing procession, and I lay my head on the table. I am tired. It feels as if they have sucked all the energy out of me, and now I am a spineless rag. Whatever my apathy, they are actually hungry, and I cannot surpass their callousness. The first stage of the exam is scheduled for the day after tomorrow, and the list of examiners and assignments still needs to be approved. Buried in papers, I tried to put several signatures at once. I can't do it, so I curse loudly and grab the scrolls. I'll sort it all out at home, when I get to a place where I can lie down. My lonely den does not greet me as warmly and cheerfully as I would like. Having seen his native land, Kyubi begins to hum a simple song in my head. In order not to completely get out of control and not to destroy the remains of the meager furnishings, I drink a glass of tap water and again try to delve into the contents of the documents. The fox's song reaches its climax. He is definitely trying to anger me in order to practice some technique. But my endurance will be better than someone else's, so the bored demon has to shut up and go to sleep in the depths of my subconscious. Tomorrow, guests from other villages will arrive, and it will be necessary to meet them. In general, holding an exam in Konoha is not only a rapprochement with other villages, but also an opportunity to learn the abilities of their younger generation, that is, their military potential. No matter how much the Kage strive for peace between the shinobi, everyone wanted to see their village at the head. Vanity, after all. I don't think the Konohagakure Genin will let me down. But how can I look so that everyone will think that my abilities are above average? I didn't want to look like a profligate this time, but not because of the public's ridicule. It's just that my demonstration will make the kids train harder, since they won't want to be worse than the weak link anyway. How wonderful it is to be able to force others to live by your command so that they think they are choosing their own path. Truly amazing. Behavioral psychology is a great thing and a terrible weapon, and predicting the actions of inept shinobi is not only useful, but also funny. The younger generation will become the army of the future in the skillful hands of a puppeteer, if you pull the right strings, and a fool is he who chases after outdated orders. I do not think that the ancient and proven is bad, but profit is above all. Don't overdo it, Naruto. You may be sitting on top of the mountain, but remember that the higher you are now, the more painful it will be to fall when you fall. Kyubi instructs. I know. Do you think it's wrong to compare people to puppets? I asked my friend's opinion. Who knows? Ordinary people often stray from their path and act illogically. Don't miscalculate with this. They think differently than you. Foolish is he who forgets this. Kurama philosophizes. So far all the pieces are on my side. And the trump card is in the pocket. I don't see any point in worrying. But you can't decide for them. You can't always protect Konoha. Bitter experience is also useful. You'll learn to accept sacrifices, the fox advises. I disagree. Do you want me to let things slide? I don't regret other people's grief, but I don't want to become an executioner. I express my opinion, but Kurama smirks. Our lives are an accident. In this chaos, where changes happen constantly, there is no place for rational arguments. You accept what you want as truth. Learn to be an observer. You are not their shepherd, and therefore you should not protect anyone. Destiny is blind, know this. I almost slept through the team reception and training with Sasuke and Sakura. I had to report to the third, having put on a camouflage suit beforehand, so that no one from the village would know that I was not training at all. Sarutobi was still afraid that Orochimaru would infiltrate the exam with groups of genin from other villages, so Kyuubi and I had to control the chakra and skills of the opponents. As for training with Itachi, I had already found a way out long ago. Thanks to Kyuubi's skills, we were able to create an especially durable clone together. So while the Tsurumi was amusing the shinobi with stupidity, Kurama and I were busy with the village's affairs. Having created a clone and having spent a lot of chakra on this technique, I send him to the bridge where he is supposed to meet Sasuke and Sakura. I take out a gray cloak and mask from the closet, and having disguised my appearance, I go to the Hokage. On my way to Konoha Central Command, the most important thing for me was to avoid being noticed by the shinobi. Moving quietly and hiding behind buildings, I meet the guard at the main entrance. Seigu, the Hokage is waiting for you. One of the patrol relayed the message. And I nodded. The other shinobi knew me by this name, since the third often needed to see me in his office, on the condition that no one would have questions. Some of the shinobi who served in ANBU were unknown to anyone by sight, so having obtained a mask and cloak, I turned into a regular employee of the unit. Having reached the third's office, I knock carefully and enter. The old man is sitting at the table, his head down, reading some papers. Saigu, Sarutobi addresses. We were keeping a low profile, since there could be interested ears in the building. Did you bring the scrolls? Yes, Hokage. I answer, taking out documents from my bag, certified by my signature. Go and inspect the genin teams. The Hokage orders. Yes, sir. I respond and go out. Teams from other villages had to register at the entrance to the village and later confirm their participation at the headquarters where the exams were held. Kurama woke up and prepared to inspect the genin. He was eager to scout out the enemy forces. I look at the crowd at the entrance and realize that there are a lot of participants in the exam this year. Kurama, as if he smelled the scent of power, pulls me into the very middle. I try to catch the vibrations he felt, but I can't concentrate. Walking next to a group of young shinobi, the fox stops me. He literally screams in my mind. I sensed related chakra. It's a bijou, Naruto. He warns. Bijou? I asked, surprised. But why would the village send out its main force? It's stupid unless... You think correctly. Unless it's a guarantee to defeat the enemy village's troops. Kurama finishes. But they must know that there is a nine-tailed one in Konoha. I suggest. What if Konoha is lying? If you don't take a risk, you won't be convinced. The fox laughs. Find the Jinchuriki, Kurama. I ask. It's as easy as pie. He's right in front of you. I look up and meet the empty gaze of the red-haired boy. Shikaku. Just like a one-tailed, eternally hungry little beast. The fox muses. That's not good. But I can't send them out of the village. I say, and the fox agrees. You have the ability to control his actions. By the way, about the exam, will you participate yourself or send a clone? Rather, myself. I doubted it, but now that unusual guests have descended on the village, I will have to keep an eye on them. I answer. It is stuffy in the mask and my nose itches. Take a closer look at the guys from the Sound Village. They just reek of the snake Sanin's chakra. Kurama recalls. Pawns, really? And Sarutobi wasn't wrong. I recall the old man's suspicion with gratitude. The clone almost fell into the waterfall. Sasuke pulled him out. The fox laughs. Thanks, kid. I completely forgot that I split up today. The inspection of the arrivals ended quickly, and I went to the clone to destroy him. Approaching the street where my clumsy fool was hanging around, I felt someone else's presence. And sure enough, next to the guys from Konoha stood Genin from Sand. A tall guy with a painted face was holding Sarutobi's grandson by the collar, and my clone was trying to clumsily attack. From my ambush, I watched the others' actions, not wanting to interfere with the performance. Here Sasuke, who appeared in a tree, throws a stone into the guy's hand, and the latter lets go of Konohamaru. The Genin from Sand is furious, Naruto is depressed, Sakura looks at Sasuke with delight. A fight ensues. But suddenly my recent acquaintance appears in the tree. He indifferently examines the situation. So, the Jinchuriki of Sand. But why is Sand going to commit some kind of dirty trick? Not in revenge for the war that happened a long time ago. Okay, Gaara. The older boy fawns. Gaara of the Sand. Well, that's not bad. The Jinchuriki's pupilless blue eyes stare at my hiding place. He probably senses the presence of his kin's chakra too, but he can't figure out why. Let's go, the little guy says unceremoniously. His companions are afraid of him. I can feel their animal fear from here. Everyone quickly disperses, and only one of my clones remains standing with a thoughtful expression on his face. I hit him hard in the stomach with a kunai, and the technique dissipates. Pulling off my cloak and mask, I hide everything in my bag. Maybe we can have a little training session, the sly fox begs. Yes, we can, I agree. Throwing my bag over the fence, I start running. In order to train, I need to get away from Konoha, otherwise it will be destroyed. I increase my speed steadily, enjoying the gusts of wind that whip my face. After a few minutes, I reach the border of Konoha, and then go deeper into the forest. There is nothing better than a fast run, and Kurama's chakra allows me to increase my speed 5-fold. I finally find the place where we usually train. What's today? I ask. Mines, QB answers. The essence of the training was that one of my clones mines the field, but Kurama separates our consciousnesses, so I cannot see and penetrate the thoughts of the clone. Then I must find a way into the forest without stepping on a single mine, otherwise I will turn into a firebrand. And yes, let several clones send long-range water and fire techniques at you. That way you'll move faster. You love me so much. I laugh. I want you to blow up at least once. If only I could get out, then we could train together. The fox grins ominously. I start a dangerous move, while one of the clones uses the futon technique. I get confused and almost fall on a mine. I throw several kunai at the clone and hit them. Another clone throws shurikens at my back, but I dodge, grabbing them so they don't damage the mines. The third clone uses the fire technique, sending a flame at me that cannot be extinguished. I jump and land on a place where I feel that there are no mines. One of the clones, at Kurama's instigation, throws a kunai not at me, but at the ground, and then the fun begins. The mines explode one by one, and I rush at full speed towards the forest. What I don't like about the fox is his peculiar sense of humor. I lie on an old sofa with creaking rusty springs and look out the window, examining the swaying crowns of trees. Relaxation and silence make me think about the work I have recently done. I passed the written exam purely by luck. I simply procrastinated with impunity, and didn't even try to cheat. The personal experiment was very successful, since I didn't answer any of the questions. Oh, how furious Ibiki Marino is, I can just see it. A minus for our education system, I need to write it down. Militant and a little crazy, well, not a little. Enko Mitarashi took us to the forest of death, although, naturally, when approving the tasks, I knew about their locations, and threw us to be torn apart by each other. But the Konoha Genin, to my surprise, did not let me down, and many other participants did not retreat either. I once again got used to the role of a dumb loser, so Sasuke and Sakura cursed me whenever the right opportunity arose, and constantly kicked me along the way. In general, I could say with confidence that the exam stage went without incident, although, as usual, something had to go wrong, according to the laws of the genre. Orochimaru quickly gave himself away and sent my little body into a long flight over a picturesque area. But thanks to my natural indifference, I endured the humiliation and did not rush into the attack. As it turned out, the Sannin was interested in the object of worship of dear Sakura. I hope they will somehow divide the unfortunate Uchiha. I am for serial cloning of Sasuke. Give Uchiha to everyone. Slogans for an absolute win in political debates. Nonsense. Okay, I will not clutter my thoughts with unnecessary information, otherwise Kurama will go crazy for the subsequent headaches. I am even beginning to suspect that a previously unknown feeling of compassion is awakening in me. Leaving the kids to show courage and battle the sound genin, I went into the depths of my own subconscious to bet on someone's victory and start a discussion with the fox. We watched with pleasure the struggle, dedication and pathos of Sakura's performance, and then honestly, mentally, clapped our hands, having seen the power of the Uchiha of this world. The argument ended in a draw. We had no doubts about Sasuke. While the guys were making peace, hugging, helping each other and, most importantly, not paying attention to me, I decided to create a clone and sneak off to have a look at the other participants. Kurama smelled the scent of fresh deaths, so I thought it would be a good idea to keep an eye on Gaara, otherwise he would take the lives of a good half of the participants, and then I, as Hokage, would get a fair beating from the leaders of the other villages. Oh, the worst thing is grief-stricken women. Then you can't run away, because they will drown you in tears and trample you. I didn't want to get it undeservedly, and I hurried to get to the Sand Genin. Exactly. Who will teach the boy cleanliness, huh? I understand that he wanted to deal with his opponents in a spectacular manner, but it is not necessary to crush them in the air so that all the pieces of their carcasses fly to the ground. Bloody rain, how pathetic! Perkiba almost lost consciousness. Hinata was on the verge of hysteria. And he looked in my direction, the bastard, and I ended up setting up the children, since they were nearby. Why didn't Gaara come, since he didn't satisfy Shikaka's thirst? Was he afraid of a stronger opponent? Although, who are psychos afraid of, huh? I still haven't answered the questions. I don't know how my team managed to crawl to the tower. The only question is, why would Kabuto help idiots? No, honestly, this is some kind of unusual generosity on his part. Maybe we should take a closer look at Yakushi? I really hoped that after the tests we had been through they would leave us alone, but we could only dream of that. My stupid head had completely forgotten that it had given the order to hold more selection tests if there were many participants left. So I had to clean up my own mistakes. Kurama laughed reservedly. The fights went well. I had to talk some crazy nonsense to rouse the ardor of the modest Hinata Hyuga, though my efforts didn't last long. The girl who loved me began to fight more desperately, but her brother almost sent the poor thing to the next world. I rushed to separate them, remembering that if the daughter died, Hayashi Hyuga would trample all the thresholds of the third's office, and the old man, at his venerable age, does not need unnecessary worries. That's how magnanimous I am. Sakura and Ino fought at a weak sea, as their pompous shouts specifically irritated my childish psyche. It was more like two bitches fighting for a man. Sasuke, are you a man, huh? Well, who am I asking rhetorical questions to? Gaara's little sister surprised me. She quickly dealt with Ten, who used all her strength, but still couldn't achieve anything. My fight was the longest and most memorable. Perkiba beat me, kicked me, but the guy still couldn't knock out the idiot Naruto. Frankly speaking, I was terribly bored. And I didn't feel any shame for allowing my opponent to mock me like that. Let him feel the power and give it his all. Why am I thinking about this now? I just don't understand. Am I raising them correctly? I want to raise children as people, and, at the same time, shinobi. After all, I am only a weapon of the village. Yes, the Hokage treated me with understanding and respect, but in his head there is also an idea that it is necessary to appease Kurama, that is, to give the boy many toys so that he does not covet something else. He gave me power, but not freedom. I guessed about this long ago, but I just can't treat him cruelly for the sake of calculation. When you do not have human feelings, you try to invent emotions. Love for the village, affection for its inhabitants, hatred for enemies. But do I feel any of this? Even in friendship with the fox, I convince myself. Kurama knows that sometimes I forget that I have a friend. I told him openly and simply it is easy for me with him, but not good. Where is my home then? Don't dwell on empty thoughts. You've been digging too much into yourself lately. Do what you like without thinking about why you're doing it, QB immediately advises. In my mind's eye, I see him lying down on the floor of his cage. Why? I immediately ask. I'm afraid that by digging into yourself, you will stop even feeling curiosity about what is happening in the world. Then the limit will come. You will no longer have anything to live for. Kurama explains. I sigh. Then how do you live? Your emotions. The fox's voice sounds as if it's coming from far away. The fox doesn't want to continue this unexpected conversation. The limit. Will I ever completely lose control of my consciousness? And is that even possible? After all, it's only thanks to some imaginary moral principles that I can restrain myself. What will happen if I lose the last bit of humanity? Perhaps it's better for me not to know about it. For now, it's better not to know. I have to meet Ebisu tomorrow. I don't think the guy will teach me anything new, but I have to pretend that I'm studying for the exam. The Kazekage will be coming for the final round, so the danger of Orochimaru's attack increases. Perhaps he wants to upset the relations between Konoha and Suna. Well, we'll see. The sofa creaks unpleasantly under my weight as I roll over onto my side. I feel tired and close my heavy eyelids. Yes, calling Ebisu sensei was decidedly bold on the part of the authorities. The boy is not coping well with the mission entrusted to him to teach me due to his lack of experience in teaching practice. But the old Hokage insistently asked me not to humiliate the already useless teacher, so as not to further lower his self-esteem. And so, biting my lip so as not to laugh, I learned the technique of walking on water, which I mastered 5 years ago. Oh, it is really difficult. I have to make a concentrated expression on my face to restrain the attempts of caustic comments that are just trying to fly off my tongue. The guy, with an important look, adjusts his glasses on the bridge of his nose and smirks smugly when I begin to choke on water. What am I being tortured for, huh? Your mercy will be remembered in the evening. You will wash the suit and curse Ebisu. The fox grumbles. Yes, he knows that I will be swearing enthusiastically at home, cleaning and drying clothes ruined by wet and dirty water. I am saved by someone I never expected to get help from. The toad Sannin simply sends my would-be teacher flying, and then into a subsequent sleepy state, because the supposed guardian of order prevents the older generation from secretly admiring the charms and curves of women's bodies. Sarutobi probably knows that Jiraiya is in Konoha, but the student himself has no idea that this time he will have a serious conversation with the brat. No, of course, I understand that giving away my special secret once again is stupid and unsafe, but Jiraiya, as my godfather, must accept the fox and my adulthood. Why does such a strong shinobi pretend to be an idiot pervert? Although who, if not me, can guess the motives of his actions, I am also guilty of open lies. I think we will get along. My cunning attempts to ask to become his student are harshly suppressed by the Sannin. I am already completely tired of pretending to be a half-wit. When Jiraiya goes to the river for privacy, and I appear there, he grabs me by the chest and pulls me to him. I note, not without surprise, how the idiotic expression on the pervert's face is replaced by cold seriousness. He carefully drills me with a concentrated look and releases me to the ground. I look at his caustic grin. You know, Naruto. Anything but a deception. Your aquamarine eyes really do shine with the wisdom of a fox, Jiraiya understands. Yes, I am actually older than I look. Is it that noticeable? I ask without confusion, not taking my eyes off Sannin's face. The hermit can't stand it and lowers his gaze. I always win at staring contests. No. Only if you know what you're looking for, Jiraiya says and sits down. I sit down next to him. He peers into the blue sky, across which a string of cirrus clouds float. I don't try to interrupt his thoughts, so I study my palms with interest, covered in scratches and long-healed burns. The first Hokage's wife was a very wise woman. She became her husband's first advisor, not counting the second Hokage. Some even suggested that it was Mito who ruled Konoha, while the Hokage was only interested in military operations. A fox at the head of a village? Sounds wild, I laugh restrainedly along with Kurama. So, you are the Hokage now? Jiraiya correctly interprets my mockery. The third has long wanted to find a worthy replacement for himself. You see, I am not suitable for serious matters, so he always counted on Orochimaru. Then the little snake rushed into studying forbidden techniques, and power fell into the hands of the Minato branch. If I was seriously worried about being overheard, I would have torn out a certain shinobi's tongue. I make a subtle hint. Jiraiya laughs merrily, but he too knows that he is standing next to a worthy opponent who should not be provoked. This is not a threat, Lord Jiraiya. Just a reminder. I'm not without the remnants of my mind to engage in a fight with an opponent who has a surprise inside of him. He responds, mentioning Kurama. The fox inside me listens intently to the conversation. The council will not accept me. They don't need to know about the Wanderer's return. They don't inspire confidence in me anyway. How about becoming a teacher? If you don't save me from Ebisu's company, I'll die from a hysterical fit that will happen when I'll be laughing heartily at the expression on the sensei's face, I suggest. The Sannin scratches the back of his head and grins. Okay, I'll get back to my training practice. I nod in agreement. It's not fair, after all, I'm playing on the fact that the hermit has no choice. The Hokage gives orders to his subordinates, and they must follow them without question. A performance? You can. I've long been accustomed to hiding behind a mask. I look up to you, teacher. I stand up and bow my head respectfully. Our training goes by rather quickly. Returning to the village, we skillfully play on people, putting on our painted masks again. Konoha, how much longer will I have to protect you? Perhaps if there was a worthy candidate for replacement, I would leave power and go to the destroyed village of Whirlpool, where my true homeland was. But this is just a dream. The same advisors who strictly build the system in a certain order would not let me leave. If I refuse, then I will be recognized as a failure in the system and destroyed. Will I be able to resist the combined forces of unknown opponents? I don't think so. Still, I do not suffer from vanity and narcissism, so as not to notice that the level of my capabilities will not allow me to defeat the council. If I were capable of this, then the fox would have destroyed the damned Konoha long ago and rushed somewhere far away. And so, I cover all my actions with patriotism, and this helps to free myself from the gnawing feeling of hopelessness and pessimism. And life is still in full swing. I drop in on Shikamaru's training for a few minutes, for which I get an irritated look from him. Frankly, this guy surprises me a little. His mental abilities are not inferior to his father's. It seems that in a few years Shikamaru will outshine Konoha's chief strategist. Kiba and Shino are strolling down the street and, noticing me wandering alone and thinking about my own things, wave their hands in greeting. I hope Akamaru and the guy himself aren't mad that I threw them out of the finals. I probably would have left, but after Rock and Gaara's fight, I realized that I did the right thing by staying in the game. The Jinchuriki worries me. How strong is he? Nothing is stopping you from checking. The fox says quietly. Are you suggesting that I sneak into the rooms of the Sand Genin? I ask. Although, why not? I quickly reach the building where our guests were staying. It's already dark now, and the evening twilight hides my figure, but I still need to remain on guard. I listen to the rustling and crackling of cicadas in the bushes, and then make my way along the drain pipe to the ledge. I hide in the shadows in time, as several shinobi come out of the building, smoking and talking loudly. I should have taken a mask, but now it's too late to regret that if I were discovered, they would recognize me. I creep along the ledge with light steps, looking into the windows of the rooms. And how will I determine where Gaara's abode is? You'll feel it. I have a nose for bijou. The fox chuckles. He was glad to drag me into the adventure to unwind a little. I step carefully and climb onto a small open balcony. It will probably be easier to move around the corridors. The dim light of the lamps allows me to hide in the shadows. There must be a shinobi in the dining room or the living room, because I don't hear anyone moving around in the rooms. I almost knock over a flower pot, but I grab it in time. There would be a lot of noise right now. I scold myself for being clumsy, and the fox laughs cheerfully with his barking, wheezing laugh, which is good for scaring people. I notice nameplates on the doors. Well, that's even easier. I find Gaara's room and unceremoniously throw open the door. I've completely stopped thinking about being careful, but fortunately there's no one in the room. I get used to the darkness and look around. The standard set of a hotel room, done in pastel colors, only I don't notice that it's lived in. Everything seems somehow uncomfortable and unnatural, as if the owner of the room does not live here. I confirm my assumptions when I see that the bed is still unmade, and the bed linen lies in an untouched pile in the corner. Does he even sleep? Have you noticed the black bags under our friend's eyes? They appeared from lack of sleep. You see, Shikaka was the most insatiable of us and didn't like to sleep. He was constantly looking for victims. The fox explains, examining the situation with my eyes. No wonder Gaara went crazy. What we saw in the forest of death looked like a senseless murder. I sink into a chair, hoping that the Jinchuriki will return to the room. My desire to talk to him has grown. Perhaps I am not the only one who suffers from the problem of incompatibility of body and mind. And if so, then 2 heads are better than 1. 4. Kurama corrects. The door creaked softly, and the light from the window fell on the person who entered, illuminating the mad face of its owner. I was not afraid when the cold gaze of empty eyes slid over me. I didn't think I'd meet a Jinchuriki in my room. Why are you here, huh? For the first time in years, an unpleasant chill runs down my spine. Gaara stands silent, statue-like in the doorway, but his eyes are watching the unexpected visitor. He is clearly not pleased with my intrusion, though he hides his emotions skillfully. An air of danger fills the air, and to smooth over the rough edges and tactlessness associated with my appearance, I speak first. Sorry for intruding on your territory. It's really not very friendly. But I would like to talk to you, I explain slowly, drawing out the words, and do not take my eyes off my opponent. He can do any not harmless joke that comes to his mind. I do not want to risk an open battle. What should we talk about? With a slight expression of interest on his face, he closes the door and stealthily enters the room. It seems that my intense gaze irritates him a little, so Gaara lowers his pale eyes to the floor and sits down on the bed. About your internal state. I was wondering, do other Jinchuriki mature as quickly as I do? I honestly give away the secret. I'm not risking anything. If Gaara is no longer an internal teenager, it's not to his advantage to turn me in and himself at the same time. Otherwise, he'll consider Naruto Uzumaki an obvious psycho, but this point will only add to my already rich biography. And how will you check if I'm lying? I can answer in different ways, Gaara grins sparingly, correctly noticing the flaw in my reasoning. I have nothing to counter it with. Kurama wouldn't mind looking into your soul. However, it's all clear to me anyway. You've been pretending to be a child for a long time. I answer my main question myself. So what? What does this knowledge give you? Strength, power? Or maybe feelings? The guy's face takes on a strange expression. He turns pale, and his cheekbones sharpen sharply. I would even say that Gaara feels pain, but after a few seconds, all his feigned grief passes. No. Now I know I'm not alone, I simply say, smiling affably. I tried to sit in a relaxed pose to win over the other person and instill a sense of confidence in them. How many years have you been playing with Konoha? The boy asks quietly, rubbing his white knuckles. He clenches his fists tightly and looks somewhere through me, not noticing my tricks. About 9 or 10 years, I don't know. People are used to hating Naruto, calling him an idiot. I laugh good-naturedly. Congratulations, we are in the same ranks. The extreme ones, Gaara says not without regret. I had to kill my uncle and throw a tantrum. If I could feel pain, I would definitely say that it hurt. Every day I play the unsociable, put on a mask of contempt and hatred. It will probably be hard for them to understand that I do not care. Since you have come, tell me, what is all this for, huh? Shikaka forbids me to destroy the village. But that would have allowed me to gain freedom. Although he is called a bloodthirsty spirit, he is not completely insane. I thought it was hard to act crazy, I say, looking at the guy more closely. An idiot, a psycho. What's the difference? Gaara raises his eyes to the ceiling. The main thing is not to give yourself away. I can't trust those who captivate my consciousness. I hate this child's body. Maybe I should just have some fun? They threw me a handout, the position of Hokage. Now I'm forcing myself to think that I seriously care about the well-being of Konohagakure. I came to ask you not to touch the genin. Strange. Orochimaru and the Sand Village are planning to destroy your Konoha. I am their main weapon, the guy reveals Suna's secret and Orochimaru's plan without even blinking. I nod. Okay, we pretty much assumed this would happen. How do you feel about this? I ask calmly. Gaara smirks. No way. It's just a reason for me to get distracted, a new game, a new reason to continue a worthless life. I'm planning to stage a different kind of performance on the big stage. I can promise you a grand battle between two Jinchuriki. It will brighten up your boredom, I suggest. Gaara forces a pained smile. Give me the coordinates where to come. I'm not against a fight. Having extracted useful information from the Jinchuriki and left his secluded apartments, I'd ponder Gaara's true identity. Is the guy so bored that only killing entertains him? Yes, perhaps actions bring a certain meaning to the life of a genin from the sand. Only he can be given a new direction to achieve some goal. In this way, I will kill two birds with one stone. I will deprive the opponents of their main force and gain a trusted person in enemy territory. Do you think he's as simple as he seems? Think about it, the guy might be pursuing his own goals. If our level of common consciousness is high, we can assume that Shikaku has specifically set his Jinchuriki's mind straight. The fox instructs. I thought you would say that. I really didn't risk it by having a frank conversation. I doubt him, so I'll keep him close. Let him get used to my brazen manner of communication and frequent intrusions into personal territory. I explain. Don't overdo it, you fucking philosopher. The fox grumbles, snorting. He's in a bad mood right now. Trying not to argue with my inner monster anymore, I go to visit. To whom? I have many candidates. Almost midnight, the glow of distant stars. Romance, in general. I'll visit our brave warrior. I reach the house where the notorious representative of the Uchiha clan lives in record time. Perhaps Konoha has already forgotten that Naruto Uzumaki is good at pranks. I always dreamed of learning to draw, but it seems I never really had enough time to practice. I find cans of paint hidden in the bushes from last time. Contemplating the creations of my brilliant thought, which broke free, I involuntarily note that this time Sasuke turned out to be quite similar to himself. Well, if you remove a few blots, a fat left side, thin stick-like legs, then it is very similar. Oh, I forgot the Sharingan. I make 2 strokes of red paint. Order. But it is unlikely that Uchiha will be happy when he sees such picturesque canvases on the walls of his house. But nevertheless, I dare to note that my inscriptions with obscene content always turn out excellently. Tomorrow the hero will learn a lot about himself, and will expand his vocabulary. Anything for raising the level of education of young people, that's all I am. The day had not gone well at all. I woke up on time, which, frankly speaking, I was very happy about, but I still couldn't have a peaceful breakfast, because a crimson and angry Sasuke showed up and smashed the door open. Otherwise, I wouldn't have paid any attention to his spectacular appearance, but now I'll have to allocate a significant portion of my meager budget for a new door to my modest abode. Of course, I'm paid my allowance in sealed envelopes, but even after becoming Hokage, I don't really get any extras. Grown-up uncles expect that a little boy doesn't need anything. If only they could see Kurama's requests. Why would a fox sealed inside me need a huge bowl that I ordered secretly so as not to arouse suspicion? He won't even be able to eat from it. He constantly grumbles that he should have things in the house and that his things are lying around, but I spent a tidy sum on his amusement. And I won't even say how much he eats. That's why I look at Sasuke a little absent-mindedly. It seems like my eye is twitching nervously, and I'm about to be seized by imaginary hysteria. No, really, at such moments a feeling of malice towards early visitors awakens in me. Naruto! This sleepy semblance of a shinobi shouts, waving his arms in front of my displeased face. What have you done to my house? And you with mine? I ask, glancing sideways at the broken door. Sasuke falls silent, apparently having calmed down his ardor. We both glance sideways at the empty doorway, where a little earlier a roughly whitewashed door had stood. Are you kidding me? Looks like I'm not the only one close to hysteria. If you don't remove the cartoons from the walls right now, I'll report the incident to the Hokage. Or better yet, I'll beat you up and drag you by the ears into the yard. Why did you decide it was me? I asked, smiling. Both of Sasuke's eyes twitch. How can he drag me by the ears? Who else? Good question. No, really good. Who knows? I say. Uchiha studies my face skeptically, hoping to look like a smirk. But I withstand a gloomy look. Maybe some of the shinobi who arrived are also admirers of painting? You're the only one who draws on the village walls, Sasuke asserts, not believing my reasoning. Yes, art is not valued at all these days. Should I become an artist? Kurama, what's wrong with me today? I ask the fox while Sasuke wanders around the room, thinking. It's an emotion. Irritation, Naruto. Congratulations, you're starting to feel and be sarcastic. Maybe it's somehow related to lack of sleep. The fox mutters in my mind in a monotonous, lecturing voice. And it's true. Only now I notice the overwhelming fatigue. And also the training. So, Sasuke, I beckon him over to me. The guy raises his eyebrows. Go ahead. Who else could have painted the walls besides me? Maybe Gaara? He's looking at you strangely, and he has kanji on his forehead. You can tell right away that he's a creative person. Let's put the door issue to rest. Go, go, I show the guest the door. Although, how the door? The threshold. The guy looks at me dumbfoundedly, and, impressed by the unexpected change in the impulsive Naruto, scratches the back of his head and leaves. I somehow close the door and start getting ready for training with Jiraiya. The final stage will be in a couple of days, and I still need to run to the old man and sign all the paperwork. I'm a paper worm. When the third dies, I'll find a new Hokage who will sign all the notes. Everything would be fine, but the arrival of the Kazekage and Orochimaru's plan are just around the corner. I need to notify the third and the administration. Then Sarutobi will demand a detailed strategy of action from me, and I will say my signature phrase. Improvisation is our everything. Which I say as often as, youth is our everything, or ramen is our everything. In general, I might have thought about the battle tactics. But I really didn't want to be torn apart by all my affairs. Jiraiya is waiting for me under a cherry tree, the branches of which provide a cozy penumbra for the hermit. He is writing something in his notebook again. Do these books really give him pleasure, or are they another cover? I slowly approach him. The hermit raises his head in time and smiles. You can't fool him. But his eyes, unlike his simple smile, watch me warily. He doesn't trust me. Your old friend is up to something dirty. I whisper, climbing under the tree to Jiraiya. He looks at me in surprise. Probably an attack on Konoha, the toad Sannin states. I nod. He was always somewhat predictable with his delusions of grandeur and immortality. Exactly. I think I won't order the population to prepare for a disaster for now, I decide. Sannin looks at me strangely. If Orochimaru's attack is strong, many will die. Do you not care? I won't answer. I can't lie. It's just that Kurama and I agreed that I would stop being a shepherd for foolish sheep. Let everyone learn from their mistakes. Who better than you to know about this? I say dryly, leaning my back against a thin tree trunk. Jiraiya freezes. How much do you know? He asks warily. Enough, I confirm his fears. Of course, it is strange that the legendary Sannin do not live in Konoha. It looks like the village leadership is afraid. They understand that it is thoughtless to let excessive force into their domain. What if you wanted to encroach on power? Neither I nor Tsunade thought about it, Jiraiya says, trying to keep the hurt out of his voice. Of course, it's hard for him to talk about how his home village forbade him from living within its borders. He was forced to look for his home in wanderings, so he couldn't start a family. Tsunade, having lost her loved ones in her homeland, began to drink herself to death. This is what winners do to heroes. I spit on the ground. I know. You suffered because of Orochimaru. Shall we begin training? I suggest, standing up. Jiraiya explains some basic points of the summoning technique to me when A and Bu shinobi sent by Danzo begin to loom around us. Shimura is concerned about the Sannin's return and my training, so he decides to take a closer look at the main contender for the Hokage position. Everyone has long known about the situation in the political arena. I make a few unsuccessful summons. Jiraiya feigns distress. He has learned acting skills over many years. While wasting time on useless practice, we think about something else entirely. The hermit is worried about my words about Orochimaru, and I can see it. The time will soon come when I will have to choose whose life to save and who to sacrifice. And Orochimaru and Suna's plan is not the only thing that worries me and Kurama. The fox often says that it was not by chance that he was sealed in me. He begins to feel the clouds gathering in the cloudless sky. I feel pain in my temples and some tension in my muscles. Niji's technique surprises me. It's not for nothing that the Hyuga clan is famous for its unique eyes. Anyone who thinks their vision is weaker than the Uchiha's Sharingan is stupid. I only deflect the last attack thanks to my speed. Outside observers don't notice that my injuries are not serious, although I've been playing the victim for half an hour now. It was a mistake to take all the blame for myself. I could have limited myself to a clone. And why do I need such a warm-up? From the outside, it looks like pure mockery. I notice a smirk hidden in the corners of the Hokage's lips. He does not understand me. Just like Gaara, who looks at our mock battle with skepticism and even irritation. Yesterday I talked to him again about the fight between Konoha and Suna. He agreed to refrain from causing damage to my village, but did not promise that he would restrain his militant compatriots and Orochimaru's group. Now the hermit contemptuously twists his face so that I could feel his displeasure. He is sometimes a little vain and likes to win, but in his last fight with Lee, I noticed that the guy also plays with his opponent. Gaara really appreciates the aspirations and efforts of his opponent, and squeezes the last strength out of his opponent. Probably like me. I knocked Niji out with a powerful blow. He must understand that rage and resentment do not give victory, do not move the world. If I let the guy win, he will never think about the fact that he is not on the right path. The nascent revenge in Sasuke's soul is enough for me. By the way, the latter has been seriously worrying me lately. Ever since Orochimaru sealed him, the guy has been losing his temper more often. His unbalanced emotional state poses a threat to the order in the village. Although what kind of order am I talking about if I know that in a couple of hours the attack on Konoha will begin, and I still haven't warned anyone? The agreement with Gaara stipulated that we would not interfere in the battle. We agreed to leave the village to reduce the spread of destruction. Budget concerns, of course. Today, the Hokage must show his courage towards his home village. He must protect Konoha. My inner indifference fills my mind. I know that Sarutobi will probably die in battle, but let it be as it should be. Kurama convinced me not to interfere and do everything unnaturally. If the path of the third shinobi ends today, I will feel nothing but a little sadness. It is sad to lose capable shinobi. But the Hokage is old, and a weak leader cannot remain at the helm. Death and honor are the best that awaits him. In any case, this is the warrior's path, which is different from death from illness and antiquity. I would like to die like that. Someday it will be like that. Kurama responds calmly. I know. I don't think I'll be scared. Are you afraid? Hardly. The fox agrees. Your curiosity and persistence in some things amaze me. How will Konoha feel when the battle begins? Will they roar in a crowd of thousands or curse their leadership for their negligence? How will they suffer? I want to see their pain and despair. Not to enjoy it, but simply to understand it. To see the suffering and taste it to the fullest. Is my fucking philosophy really going to make me admire the moment of death and fear on peaceful faces? This is stupid. I will learn to use people like chess pieces. The first to fly off the board will be the split pawns. And they have families. Maybe today someone of my physical shell's peers will die. Will I see myself in their dead bodies? How far can one go in search of emotions? But I am still only at the beginning. It is never too late to turn back. To leave the village its fragile peace. No. Grief will catch up with them someday, so I will test their resilience now. You think a lot. A lot. Kurama laughs. For the first time, his laugh seems irritating and intrusive to me. Just see what happens. I am thinking about guilt and the correctness of my actions. Will remorse not overtake me? Gaara kills weekly for breakfast and lunch, not skipping holidays. What does he feel? Nothing. Does this mean that you are offering me a radical method for finding myself? I ask, not looking at the arena where the fight between Sasuke and Gaara has begun. You have long ago chosen him from among many others. The fox in my mind grins. I tear myself away from my own thoughts and look with an empty gaze at the fighting shinobi. Fighting is the essence of our lives. It saves us, makes us feel needed, distracts us from the past, the present, and deprives us of the future. We fight for freedom, loved ones, honor, and homeland. We kill for offense and on a whim. We earn money from battles. Generations of shinobi grow up as fighting generations. We consider ourselves warriors, believe in justice, and seek our own special path. But I see that all this is useless. There is no meaning in our lives. There has been none for a long time. We force ourselves to invent goals and dreams for ourselves, flattering and deceiving our own minds. Something needs to change. Maybe I created an image of myself in my mind as a pioneer? Maybe my path is to lead by deception. I will become an observer. The hand that moves the chess. The force that drops the queens. The attack of Orochimaru and his minions begins suddenly. The shinobi from Konoha, sitting in the stands and peacefully watching the fights of the youth, suddenly fall asleep, and I understand that the main action is about to unfold. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice how Gaara pretends to be helpless, allegedly caused by the battle with Sasuke, so that his relatives drag him outside the village in order to save him from pursuit. By the way, Uchiha, seeing the shameful escape of his opponent, goes after him in order to finish him off. I don't know whether Gaara warned his brother and sister about simulating his beating or improvised, but it seems to me that he clearly makes it clear that he is ready for our simulated fight. I dodge a kunai flying past the left side of my face. Some brave shinobi gets hit in the stomach and falls, choking on his own blood. The spleen ruptures. Kurama has released a lot of chakra. I straighten my white knuckles. I manage to notice that a powerful barrier has been erected on the roof of one of the buildings, sparkling from the amount of chakra used. The fox's scent allows me to detect the presence of the snake Sanin's persona. Orochimaru must have prepared well for the battle with the third, since he decided to engage Sarutobi without pawns. The ANBU members stand helplessly next to the barrier, trying to make out the third's hunched figure. They value him. I feel like I can feel the mocking gaze of the Hokage's small, tenacious eyes saying, "What, decided to test this?" I brush off the obsession. "Good luck to you, third." "Naruto, Sasuke!" A disheveled Sakura shouts, beckoning me with a gesture. The girl's face is frozen in despair. She is afraid for her dark-haired prince. "I'm coming," I shout and start moving. Living pictures of battles are unfolding on the streets of the village. Some shinobi from Konoha is being pushed back by his rivals, but with my speed I knock them down with ordinary footrests. Sakura loses sight of me for a few minutes, but notices Shikamaru, who is shouting something to him, waving his arms. It's hard to make out the guys in the general chaos, and I try to pass between the combatants without hitting anyone. Today is the day of their lives and death's a turning point in their destinies. "Naruto, faster!" The pink-haired girl screams hysterically. She is on edge. I even feel sorry for her. Now Sakura is wringing her skinny hands. I see how the girl's big eyes are pleading. She is afraid of this. Afraid of pain and losing loved ones. I silently join the small procession, which includes Nara. How insignificant all these people around us seem. They are dying like flies, collapsing from helplessness. The sweet scent of blood hangs in the air. The wounded shinobi hide their injuries and rush into battle again. The warmth has not yet left the bodies of the dead. How comical their faces are, having met the face of death. They were not ready. They were useless. "Did you see their pain?" asks the awakened Kurama. "Yes," I answer briefly. "It's unpleasant to stay in the village now." "What does she look like?" the fox asks a strange question. "To meaninglessness. Or rather, it is meaningless," I respond, peering into the face of the unknown shinobi. A couple of seconds are enough for me to see surprise in his fixed gaze. "It will all end soon," Kurama assures. "Yes, but I need to fulfill my promise." I notice that sound ninjas are starting to pursue us. Nara stays behind, trying to set a trap for the uninvited guests. I generally like Shikamaru for his resourcefulness and flexible mind. Let's hope that someday he will follow in his father's footsteps. By giving us the opportunity to calmly continue pursuing the Uchiha, Nara calculated everything correctly. I am sure that Gaara is not the type of guy who likes to wait for a long time. If I am late, he might want to test the Uchiha, and I am afraid that Sasuke will get many broken bones. I would not like to communicate with his brother. The Hokage's stories about Itachi were more than enough. I was always interested in the history of the Uchiha clan, since Kurama said that Madara could subjugate the fox. This situation did not please both the Ninetales and me, because the capabilities of the Sharingan were not fully explored. If the day came when Sasuke began to control Kurama, I would rush about. In order to gather more information, Kurama and I, of course, searched for ancient scrolls and interrogated the third with partiality. Therefore, I knew enough about Itachi Uchiha, and frankly speaking, the young shinobi seemed strong and very gifted to me. Considering his fate and actions, which were known to me as Hokage, I considered his callousness equal to my own indifference. We walk a few more meters before we stop. Sakura is already wheezing. Her breathing is ragged. Will you rest? I ask. She shakes her head, unable to say anything. Gathering all her will and strength into a fist, the girl squeezes the last juices out of her unfortunate body. I shrug and continue moving after her. The chakra power emanating from the battlefield can be felt from afar. I see Sasuke take a strong blow. His curse seal has already activated, but it does not save him from Gaara's attacks. The desert man has allowed himself to transform his outer shell a little. After a few shots of sake, he might have looked cute, but now his sandy-colored face does not seem cute at all. Sakura rushes forward to protect Sasuke, but Gaara captures her with his technique. It seems he is too bored. His sister, Temari, looks out from behind the trees fearfully, keeping her distance. Has Gaara scared his relatives so much that they are terrified of him? I emerge from the trees with a battle cry to encourage the masses. Gaara grins sarcastically, trying to make the smile less noticeable. I begin to attack with weak techniques, trying to provoke the enemy. He would probably raise his eyes to the sky and curse loudly, but our fight will be recorded in history by contemporaries and eyewitnesses will add their comments. A battle between two Jinchuriki. Now that's a spectacle. I'll demonstrate my cloning skills, I think. You're taking too little, laughs the fox. Well, the clones will really ruin his appearance. I justify myself. And the fox is right, you take too little. An unknown hoarse voice appears in my mind. I don't even have time to be surprised. Shikaku, get out of my Jinchuriki's brain, Kurama says, feigning anger. He's probably glad someone came to visit him. We could have had some more tea, yeah. Not badly arranged. At least you have a cage, but it's clean and tidy. You should see my mansion, Shikaku says, as if looking around. We're fighting, if anything. I remind him, and One Tail's voice disappears from my consciousness. Gaara's narrow eyes become more meaningful and laughing. He sharply exhales a strong wave of air, tearing all my few clones into pieces. Why, I ask, did I waste chakra at all? I fly 3 meters and land on a tree branch. A little more and I would have beaten up my soft spot. It's time for the secret pain technique. I take out a kunai with explosive seals. How will my sweet, big-faced friend react to such a high-quality nasty act? Will my action become a moment of his personal shame? I create several clones. Gaara rolls his eyes. Yes, he probably thinks that I am going to repeat the last attack. You don't know what awaits you, desert dweller. My intelligence and sense of humor have never failed me. True, the 5th Hokage's humor is peculiar, and only he understands it. Gaara destroys my shadow clone technique again, but relying on speed, I manage to put my insidious plan into action. Too bad I don't see his surprised look. The seals work, and I am blown away by the blast wave. The sand miracle looks pretty dented, but immediately becomes covered with a new layer of sand. He makes several fruitless attacks on my respected body, but I decide that I am ashamed to be injured by spit techniques. My performance at the exam was enough. I'm creating a multiple clone technique. It takes a lot of chakra, but I'm not upset. It seems my opponent has become more enthusiastic about the fight, and let's not forget that Sakura is in a sand paw and Sasuke is lying nearby. I've had enough of misfortunes. By the way, How are things in Konoha? The clones strike the desert dweller multiple times, but it seems he is still quite capable of smashing my head against some rock. Gaara's body looks like a shapeless heap. But suddenly he rises sharply and captures me with the sand coffin technique. Clever, nothing to say. The victim is deprived of the ability to move and use any techniques. While my hand is free, I use the summoning. The only, generally speaking, correct decision at this moment. Gamabunta throws a long, dramatic tantrum, and I, knowing how much the Toad King loves flattery and worship, persuade him. Gamakichi tries hard to help me, to persuade his father to participate in the battle. It seems that Gamabunta understands that some of the glory will fall on him, and agrees. And how can I defeat Shikaku, which Gaara released? Use the right strategy. The fox prompts, yawning lazily. I snort. Your advice is very useful. Does it matter that I already know this? Would you like to take part in the battle? I want to remind you that you were carried away by the battle and did not notice how a couple of people from the route appeared nearby. Shimura sent them specifically to monitor the battle. The fox reproaches. Think about it. If you release me, you will show them that you are able to control the nine-tailed fox itself. This, naturally, will create unnecessary questions and strengthen control over us. Shimura does not need a force in the village capable of entering into conflict with him. You know, he eliminates his opponents quietly. What if we remove him? I ask. Stupid. Danzo is not a problem. But behind any significant figure there are unknown masters. Yes, and Shimura's connections in other countries are not to our advantage. The shinobi world is much more complex than it seems. It is especially difficult to understand political issues, so I never wanted you to get involved in politics. And our post of Hokage was perceived more with apprehension than with joy. Kurama mutters quietly. Lately, for some reason, he has been overcome by groundless fears. But regarding politics, he is absolutely right. Gamabunta jumps and attacks Shikaku, cutting off the sand monster's leg. The bijou doesn't seem to notice the loss. It spews an air wave from its mouth, which almost catches us. The battle drags on. And Gaara is no easy feat. I need you to use the substitution technique. Something with claws and teeth. Gamabunta asks. I think hard. And a big. We hide behind the fog. I wonder if Shikaku will realize that it's not Kurama flying at him, but just us in disguise. The picture must be truly stunning, two giant bijou fighting, destroying everything around them. The pseudo-fox bites into the opponent's flesh and presses him. The technique dissipates. Gamabunta barely holds the one-tailed from moving. I jump off and rush to Gaara. It seems that despite the guy's friendship with the bijou, Shikaku is making great use of Gaara. I understand that the desert dweller is now obsessed with murder. No one will get my carcass, buddy! My last blow to the cheekbone did not bring the guy to his senses, so I'll try again. He's definitely gone too far. Empty eyes stare hostilely. Sand begins to engulf me. Gamabunta wraps his slimy tongue around me, and I wince. But Gaara doesn't back down and starts laughing. Yes, he's crazy. I'll hand him over to the hospital for experiments when I've beaten him to a stake. Kurama gives me some of his explosive chakra, and I feel a surge of strength, running towards Gaara. The guy uses a technique, and my arms are wrapped in sand ribbons. What a bastard! I rush forward and without thinking twice, I hit my head on his forehead. May his brains be blown out. A drop of wet blood falls on his nose. Gaara freezes, and Shikaku's powerful torso collapses. The brownish sand, sparkling in the sun, settles. I land on some green hill and glare at Gaara. This is a fight to the last blow, and I need to knock the kid out. I run up. The guy does the same. I swing and hit him in the cheek with my left. Gaara's body falls to the ground, and I fall after him. What a workout! Even the muscles in my face are probably tensing. I put on a heroic expression and crawl towards the desert dweller. He smiles vaguely. He regrets that he lost, but the fight was worthy. A hand on my shoulder stops me. Enough, the guy says dramatically. I wonder if he feels sorry for me now or not? Gaara is taken away by his relatives. They silently sit down next to his body and, taking him by the arms, leave. I peer closely into the shadows of the forest behind Sasuke and see masks flashing by. Root. Well, you've seen the show that was put on for you. At least Konoha hasn't suffered from Gaara, and I won't have to squeeze money out of wealthy people for budget contributions. But it's still good to live and fight. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't been born a shinobi. Would I have plowed the land or sown saws? Cooked ramen or raised children? It's not for me, it's not for me. Although, I admit, there's a lot of meaninglessness in my life, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I may have gotten used to enduring pain and licking my wounds. But the triumph of victory? It's incomparable. Tomorrow the advisors will give me a huge dressing down for not stopping the threat. I will bow my head in silence and listen to them, but not a single word will remain in my heart. I will go outside, put on a stupid mask and live on. Jiraiya will start babbling about his new novel again, loud enough for everyone who was sent to spy on us to hear. Kurama will demand a new bowl from the catalog, and I will grumble and buy it. Having unwinded a little today, I will return to a routine and meaningless life. Why seek philosophical truths if you do not know why you live? I realized this today. I realized that neither Gaara nor I have any purpose on this earth. Maybe we are just vessels for power. Maybe. Part 11. Everyday life Life in the village is being restored. Several long days have passed, and the inhabitants of Konoha, wiping away the grimaces of pain and despair from their faces, have taken up their daily work. Many drown their grief in the salty, sticky sweat that comes from constant physical labor. They do not notice that they are already too exhausted, because lately they have not paid attention to the complaints of the body. It is easier for them not to think at all and not to feel sorry for themselves, so as not to start to awaken emotions and mourn the losses again. A strong tribe, hardened by battles and death, carried the burden of grief on its shoulders. And I knew the pangs of conscience. I felt sorry and hurt. It was a pity that I had deprived my family of fathers and sons. It was a shame that I had acted so stupidly, while constantly boasting of my own intelligence. I should not have used other people's lives for my own amusement, because life is given and taken away by heaven. I had not lived up to the mission I had set for myself. Thanks to the dead, now I understand. The Hokage's funeral was solemn and somber. I bowed before the old man's coffin, noting that death had made him even more fragile and defenseless. Sarutobi's face acquired the expression of a man who had learned a deep, sacred truth. Well, I couldn't share it with him. Orochimaru's minions disappeared from the village almost immediately. The snake Sannin himself lingered for a short time. He cursed his former teacher, who had taken away his ability to use hand seals, in a long, profuse voice. With his snake tail between his legs and his head down, Orochimaru, like a beaten dog, retreated to his lair with his mud kabuto. He never received absolute power. However, now I know the essence of the third Hokage's words. To rule Konoha, one must be loyal to it. Kurama didn't want to talk to me. No, he wasn't offended. The fox was thinking about the correctness of our decision, and I saw fragments of his colorful memories. And the wise are probably wrong. But I wouldn't stop if I had another chance to test people. Feeling sorry for them now, if I went back to the past, I wouldn't help them. Perhaps heartlessly, but rightly so. With time you understand that the extreme poles right and wrong fit into one word, need. So it is necessary. To whom? I won't answer. All the wounded and injured were sent to the hospital. I slept the whole day without moving, and in the morning I created a clone and retreated from the hospital. The council was not happy to see me, as they did not understand my cynical act. But this time they could not contradict me. Danzo was literally fluttering, counting on the post of Hokage to go to him. He did not yet know the plans of the council. The people in dark cloaks decided that it was necessary to choose one of the two Sannin. I winced. Return the offended and strong shinobi? I have never heard a more stupid plan. Of course, I was appointed to help the formal leader, but there was no certainty that I would have kept Jiraiya or Tsunade from rash actions. Resentment is resentment. And old men are vengeful and vile. Unexpected guests came to Konoha. When Itachi Uchiha and his companion entered the village, I was finishing my second portion of ramen. I did not like the emergency end to breakfast. I assumed that, having learned of the Hokage's death, Itachi would come to put in a good word for his brother, but he would not reach our heavenly place so soon. As far as I remember, he had an important conversation with Shimura last time. After that time, Danzo sewed a few more eyes on his hand. It's safer this way. Mutant Collector. As a result, a fairly large group of people rushed to greet the guests. It's called. I wanted to do things quietly, but here they made a pun with dancing. After Might Guy's speech and Sasuke's vengeful statements, I also wanted to intervene, because my head was spinning and my brain was boiling. I promised myself that I would take revenge on Sasuke, who appeared everywhere, with funny pictures on his fence. I would give good to people. Itachi must have gotten rid of his family, because they did not allow him to live in peace and smoke in the shade. This is already the unfinished and on one side badly crippled sarcasm waking up in me. Jiraiya tried to defuse the situation. The Sannin literally set our esteemed guests on fire, perhaps planning a roast for dinner. But the teacher failed to carry out his plan. And well, of the recent events, I also remembered Gaara's invitation to another friendly duel, but mindful of the general destruction of my village, I tactfully declined. While I was galloping through the desert and wasting chakra, my disarmed and sparsely populated Konoha could be attacked by an enemy, or old man Danzo could stage a coup, plunging the village into the abyss of a totalitarian regime. A dictator in his person was the only thing I needed. Having deprived myself of the joy of a fight, I took up routine work. My skills in cloning techniques were only appreciated when I helped the repair crew. Of course, it was not right for a majestic person to do dirty work, but Kurama promised me a magical kick in the ass if I didn't do something worthwhile. I didn't think about how the fox would carry out his threat, so I rushed to work, once again hoping that Kurama would deprive me of another brainwashing. One day I went to Ino's flower shop and met Sakura. When a pot of chrysanthemums flew at me, I realized that I lacked gallantry and tact in communicating with girls. Having learned my lesson, I hurried to retreat from the dangerous place, because Sakura had some kind of rag in her hands. Maybe people don't like it when you tell them the truth to their face? Communication with my peers did not attract me and did not bring me joy. I locked myself in the house and, burying myself in documents, began to sign them. Don't believe it if they tell you that signing is an easy job. The fingers of my right hand went numb, and all evening I wandered around the room like a cripple with a stump. The courier brought a new bowl for the huge red creature that was hiding inside me. I took the order and thought for a long time about what to do with the small bathtub. The furry miracle stretched its mouth in a smile of affection and sent me mental compliments. Communicating with your own consciousness, what could be worse? Closer to midnight, when I had already climbed into my soft bed and was ready to fall asleep, someone rang the doorbell. Meeting Jiraiya, who was pretty drunk and weeping bitter tears on his rug, was a real treat. The Toad Sannin complained to me for a long time about women's treachery and sniffled. At that moment, I cursed all kinds of nightclubs where an old man could get completely drunk. I no longer wanted to listen to another batch of stories about the adventures of the decrepit Don Juan. Having somehow put the guest to sleep, I returned to my bed. At night I felt like my eardrums would burst from his snoring. Indeed, you can be kicked out of the village for that. In the morning I barely managed to scrape myself out of bed. I was met by Sannin's cheerful face. Question: where are my privileges of life as a boss? Part 12. Lynching What happens if a clueless idiot is left without proper supervision? He probably starts to act as he sees fit. But he doesn't know how to think rationally and calculate the consequences of his actions, so he acts recklessly. Although, I admit, I am also to blame for this. Sasuke had long ago decided for himself that his training should be of higher quality, and decided to become Orochimaru's student. I wasn't particularly surprised, but my conscience stirred somewhere in my brain. Do you know that this capricious lady loves to sharpen holes in my temples and dig into my gray matter? Previously, only Kurama was involved in my brainwashing. But now he's gone quiet. Naturally, I decided to think about what this choice of Uchiha would bring us, so, in order not to waste time, I ate a couple of servings of ramen. On a full stomach, quite serious thoughts creep into my head. They quickly evaporate, but that's another topic. So Sasuke is a missing nin? I can stop Uchiha only if I smash the boy's head and stuff his pot with new brains. Talking to the deaf is useless, and counting on our friendship is pointless. I could let things slide and say goodbye to the rebellious clan, but I'm afraid that the council and Itachi will not approve of my decision. The advisors knew very well that Sasuke's brother, participating in a secret mission to destroy his clan, saved a lot of dirt on the top leadership. In the world of shinobi, despite techniques and amazing abilities, information is valued most of all. Wars are wars, but no one has cancelled the art of diplomacy. Some scrolls taken by Itachi could have cost Danzo and others more than just their lives. Obviously, we need to try to bring Sasuke back. Although, of course, we can make this attempt obvious. But ostentatious effort is not aspiration, so we need to make sure that the mission becomes a failure from the very beginning. And for this, we will use the experience of our ancestors. There is nothing more brilliant than sending genin on missions. And you yourself will set off on a journey to personally verify everything. Kurama grumbles quietly. He didn't get enough sleep today, so he tried to annoy me in the morning. But for some reason, I didn't pay attention to his attempts to distract me, and the fox died down, retiring to rest in the depths of my subconscious. Yes. I need to unwind. I also need to deliver the package to Suna. I'll have to call Gaara. He probably wouldn't mind having some fun. I think. If you remember your last meeting, then meeting him on neutral territory is a wise decision. The fox chuckles. Exactly. As you remember, I have to leave soon. My training is very important. Tsunade can safely be left in the care of the council. It seems she has become a good Hokage. Jiraiya acted cunningly, refusing the position under my command. But then I decided that I would take him on the journey. At least this did not seem unusual, because he is my teacher. Only I am afraid that Tsunade will destroy all the sake reserves in the village. I will come and sign the dry law. I explained my plan to the Biju, although he has heard it more than once. I remember how these thoughts occupied my head. The village could not remain without leadership for a long time, otherwise we would face an invasion of impudent invaders who are so stupid that they believe that if there is no Hokage, then the village is defenseless. There is, of course, some truth in this, but most likely due to the fact that our male population has significantly decreased. The team of genin I assembled is pursuing the Sound 4. No, if people thought sometimes, they would be surprised why the youth went on a mission without a jonin to accompany them. But, as usual, no one saw anything wrong. And he was fat. And what allows us to judge others? Strength, a flawless brain, exceptional knowledge? What? Why do I consider myself a god on my own land? How, as a human being, do I recognize my own power over people, which no one gave me? It is not conscience that calls out, but reason. Maybe someday I will be able to answer all my questions. But to find the answers you need to leave. After death, knowledge. But someone sent us to live. And I still have not found my way. Sad. And it's funny. To tears. But animals don't cry. After all, we are the punishing forces. Strangers among our own. Part 13. Everyday chores Dear readers, I hope I have some now. Please write me your wishes regarding the development of the plot, because I have already switched to a complete retelling of the original story. Would you like me to deviate even more from the canon or stick to it as the main outline? The text lacks an epic, I have already noticed. Something needs to be changed, so I need your opinion too. It took me a long time to get ready for the journey. I had long ago entrusted all the documents to Tsunade, and she dumped them on others. Not bad, of course, but sometimes important papers get lost and fall into enemy hands. I held another council meeting. They were not very happy about my departure, so they gave me clear orders and instructions. I feel that one day I will gather the courage and strength to skillfully kill them and bury their cold corpses. The pressure has become too great. If I leave Tsunade in charge of the village, I will have to be prepared for the fact that power will definitely shift to the council. Otherwise, I would have cared, but as far as I remember, I was going to deal with more complex matters. It so happened that in the archives I came across my father's scrolls, in which there was an encrypted correspondence between the fourth Hokage and a distant village. I couldn't understand the essence of the matter, but something really alerted me. Everything was hidden in too many unambiguous hints. Well, let's figure it out. I wouldn't have agreed to go on a journey with Jiraiya if I hadn't had various problems with other villages. I'll have to carry out the mission as a spy myself. Yes, and it's advantageous because no one will suspect a little boy of a trick when the fifth Hokage calmly rules the village. I made a detailed plan for my journey, as I intended to visit many shinobi villages and scout out the real political situation. I was also very interested in Gaara's idea of finding other Jinchuriki. Then I would at least be able to find out who the fighting power of the other Kage is hidden in. Kurama was quite happy with the so-called walk, because we would have the opportunity to conduct his favorite training, which would attract unnecessary attention here. What can I say? I constantly felt Shimura's sidelong glance. The old man was extremely annoyed that Tsunade took the Hokage post, but he would not dare to compete with the princess. I understood this perfectly, so I enjoyed Danzo's irritability. The guys who made up the group that was pursuing the fugitive Uchiha had been in the hospital for several days, healing their bruises and wounds. Sakura wandered the streets with a crazy expression on her face and cried constantly. Even the cheerful Ino had faded. Sasuke's escape had a surprising effect on all of his peers, although he had never been welcoming to them. Jiraiya was still hanging around the women's baths, trying to hammer out his magnum opus, which would come out with some pretty pornographic elements anyway. I was always surprised by his passion for literature, because sometimes he overacted his role. Maybe he got used to it over time? I don't know. One evening I had to go for a walk with the Sannin. He was tracking down busty, lustful maidens, and I, yawning, trudged along behind him. Along the way we met several young girls, to whom Jiraiya immediately pestered. I was sure that the Sannin would soon get a slap on the lion's mane from the massive and enormous handbag of one of his victims of seduction, but it seemed that Jiraiya himself did not share my fears. In vain. Kurama even pretended to laugh a little at this, then fell silent and became more serious. He was alarmed by the strange behavior of a small group of shinobi on one of the roofs. I noticed that their faces were hidden by Anbu masks, but this gave away the strangers' affiliation with the village hidden in the fog. What were they doing in Konoha? I warned Jiraiya about the guests, and the Sannin immediately dropped his comical Don Juan image. We exchanged glances. Unnoticed, I began to approach the gathering of Anbu. I managed to hide about 20 meters away from them. Professionals won't let me get any closer. I barely managed to remain unnoticed, but I had to lose sight of Jiraiya. I'm sure the Sannin won't give away his presence. So what were they doing in Konoha? Their dead masks hid their faces well, but I could sense the caution with which they hid in the darkness. Thieves? Hardly. More likely planted spies. I was more interested in the question of why they bothered to visit our village. It seemed that they were masters of their craft, since they were able to pass the borders of Konoha without alerting the guards. He promised us a scroll. The voice was indistinct, like splashing water. Why is he hesitating? We can wait a little longer. Or are you worried about the air of this village? The shinobi with the cracked mask answered. They were silent. I wanted to get words out of them, but it was impossible. It was risky to engage in combat without knowing the enemy's strength. I wasn't afraid to take the risk, but I might scare off the mysterious stranger they were waiting for. Was there a rat in our headquarters? Maybe a traitor in Anbu. It seemed Danzo would be in trouble. And what kind of scroll is this? I seem to remember that I removed all the important documents from the archive long ago. Unless, wherever stupidity leads me, I promised myself that I wouldn't make any mistakes regarding leaving papers on my desk, but I screwed up again. I need to eliminate the enemies immediately. I looked at Jiraiya. He nodded. It was time. 4 against 2? Not a bad odds. I left my hiding place and appeared before my opponents. They seemed ready for a fight, because they showed no signs of nervousness. Jiraiya was not quick to reveal his presence. Maybe they weren't too scared because they saw a child? I made several seals. It is necessary to use my father's techniques to prevent the informant from realizing my presence. The ANBU tried to resist me. But when I use the Uzumaki clan seals, few can resist. The marks left on their clothes lit up and prevented them from performing their own techniques. Jiraiya helped me immobilize them. We did not remove the ANBU's masks because it would have threatened a conflict between Konoha and the Village of the Mist under the common treaty. We quickly got away from the battlefield. Although, it's hard to call what happened a battle. I didn't plan on torturing the prisoners. However, I didn't plan on letting them go either. They saw me. I didn't need any extra problems before leaving the village. Jiraiya managed to drag the ANBU members outside Konoha. There we tied them to a tree with a wide trunk. I addressed the prisoner with the split mask. Did you intend to steal the scroll with seals? Yes. For what? I can't say. What was he supposed to tell you? Sagito, from ANBU. It's strange that you're telling me this. I was surprised by his compliance. Nobody's ever caught me like that, he admitted. It's a shame, boy. Now I'm going to die anyway. You're right, I agreed. Throwing 4 kunai at immobilized bodies is not difficult. Jiraiya did not say a word to me. He understands that the measure of cruelty was necessary. An important paper? Sannin asked. For some, yes. Seals that allow control and coordination of human actions. An extinct clan. How could they have found out about the scroll? It seems that secret data has been traded in the villages for a long time. I just couldn't find it in Konoha. When I return, I'll completely change the management system. All thoughts were occupied by the upcoming trip. I would have to take the suitcases with documents with me. No, not that. Although, it was just a joke. Part 14. I'm coming It was so strange to leave the borders of my native village, knowing in advance that I would not return to my native land anytime soon. The air crackled with stuffiness. I looked around the walls and gates of Konoha, saying goodbye to everything I was leaving behind. Although, who knows, maybe I won't come back. A feeling of nostalgia washed over him. At the wrong time. Jiraiya noisily inhaled and exhaled. He always said goodbye as if it were forever. He didn't expect to return. The hiking backpack is packed. Everything is ready. The first step is difficult. I tried to remember what I forgot at home. Probably to clean the refrigerator. The milk will go sour again. Maybe the neighbors will deign to throw out the garbage if it stinks and ruins the ecology. Tsunade allowed herself to give me a magical kick. As a joke, of course. I am still Hokage after all. It's hard to believe, though. The fox wasn't upset. He was used to wandering, although he had become too domesticated lately. I'll try to let him out outside the village to stretch his legs a bit. It will cost me a lot of chakra, but what can I do? I promised him a walk a long time ago, so I'll have to keep my word. I'll probably regret it. I haven't told Jiraiya my entire travel plan yet, but I have to travel most of the way alone. There are some things that you shouldn't tell anyone for your own safety. I trust the Sannin almost 100%, but even an old woman can make a mistake. Secrets are not shared even with those closest to you. I can handle it all alone. I'll have to miss the old man somewhere in the area of the Village of Mist. He wanted to visit a forgotten place where inspiration comes, and I'll go east. I don't know how long I'll have to look for the right place, or how I'll navigate, but I still need to find out something. My father had many illegal deals with other villages. This fact does not undermine his reputation in my eyes. I am privy to how difficult it is to plan a common budget. Sometimes you have to pay a contribution or damage to some party, and the Hokage does not have much money at his disposal. Take Social Security, for example. Shinobi fight, and few people think about financing a hospital or an academy. Of course, the ancient clans are quite wealthy, for example, Hyuga or Sarutobi, but they also pay a tax to the village the completion of missions. Like any state, a hidden village has a complex system of management and financing. There is even a shadow economy. The same bounty hunters. The fourth Hokage did not disdain sending Konoha troops as mercenaries to fight among the villages, although outwardly Kanehigakure adhered to a policy of neutrality. If our allies knew that we were filling the ranks of their enemies, then we could talk about a political catastrophe. But fortunately, documents were burned and witnesses were destroyed. During Kurama's attack on Konoha, some shinobi were eliminated due to their importance. Only then was everything written off to an aggressive monster. Kyubi has always been a good cover for the atrocities of the managers on the political board. But it is not for me to speak about justice. The journey to the village of Mist will take about 5 days, although this is only an estimate without unforeseen circumstances. I will have to buy some things at the illegal market near the abandoned spring. I got a map and marked the places of my stops in advance. It is profitable. My father also left behind scrolls with receipts for large sums. I need to demand this money from someone. Konoha's budget has recently been filled with holes through which the common money disappears. I'll figure out how to find the rat. And I'll need to find several fugitive shinobi who stole valuable information from Konohagakure. If they haven't sold the information yet, then their place is in the grave. Jiraiya laughed. He waved his hand when I looked up at him. What? I asked, puzzled. The hermit smiles mockingly. When you think about something, you look a lot like Minato. I am not surprised at all. My resemblance to my father is simply striking. Naturally, it is strange that the boy, seeing cards with the Hokage's image, was not interested in the identical facial features. I had to play the orphan, languishing from the stupidity of those around me. Yes, I see nothing, I know nothing. I was thinking about him. What was he like? Jiraiya will tell the story through the prism of his perception, but I will be able to separate emotions from truth. He will try to exalt the student in my eyes, only I will know that I am the son of an ordinary man. The best but sinful. You can't run away from nature and imperfect essence. He could do a lot, the Sannin adds thoughtfully. I saw that he sincerely missed them. I did too, only less. It's easier for me in this regard. I haven't seen Kushina and Minato in person. Would you have lived with them if they had survived? I ask. What kind of family would we have had? Would he have become my grandfather? I have not heard anything about my mother's parents. I know from Kurama that she was his Jinchuriki and was born, like Mito, in the Whirlpool village. Yes, probably. You see everything in my eyes. They were like children to me. It is strange to see before you an unbending, powerful man with a petrified face. With steel in his voice he pronounces these words. Walls of metal easily crumble if they are built over an abyss, scorched by loss and the pain of loss. He's getting sentimental, the fox comments, wincing. It's not shameful, I object. Kurama covers his nose with his paw. I didn't say that I consider such feelings shameful. You should know that by calling him out on this, you are preparing internal torment for Jiraiya. A moralist? Have you decided to become my conscience? I tease. The work isn't profitable. What do you think about a rest stop? I stop. My mind is ready to rush forward, but my muscles are not made of iron. Several hours of non-stop running have passed, and my childish body requires a break. I fiddle with the collar of my orange suit. Why did I choose the color of a mad orange for my clothes? So that they would see from afar and immediately determine that Naruto Uzumaki is appearing. It is advantageous to be in everyone's sight. They do not expect a catch. Bright and screaming about their uniqueness personalities are rarely good and cautious strategists. We are used to living in captivity of a stereotype, therefore, seeing my suit and stupid face, the enemy makes a psychological portrait. Also, this is a tribute to Kurama. He is madly in love with red fox fur and makes me stick to a non-standard color in clothes. Dead? Jiraiya began to tease, whistling. I can tell. I agree. Sannin settles down to rest, sitting under the nearest tree and taking off his shoes. He throws his white mane back and closes his eyes, preparing to meditate. I sit down next to him and pull off my backpack. I pull out a couple of bars. My stomach demands reinforcement, threatening to growl violently. I swallow the food in an instant. I pull out the map. The ANBU Danzos sent after us have already disappeared from sight. They must have reported to the master that the Sannin and his student have indeed left the village. He is still afraid of Jiraiya. I wish I could grow up faster and get rid of the body's over-fatigue. I'm not Orochimaru, to experiment on people, and I don't know any techniques that can speed up growing up. The path has begun. I hope it will lead me to something worthwhile, otherwise it is meaningless. Although experience is also important now, I feel that the number of my opponents will increase considerably. Many may suffer because of what I have planned. Large-scale ideas, that's all I am. Everything around falls silent. It feels like you've been suddenly thrown into cold water and you've lost the ability to sense what's happening. Technique? Doesn't look like it. The Sannin will have to tear himself away from calming his inner spirit. Part 15. Underrated We had unexpected guests. Jiraiya, distracted, raised his whitish eyebrows in surprise. I tactfully remained silent. What did the stone forget near Konoha? The Sannin asked, addressing the 6 shinobi in identical suits with the Wagakure headbands. The guests had masks on their faces, clearly ANBU. A tall, stocky man, apparently the team's leader, stepped out from the center and reported in a dry bass voice. Sorry to interrupt you, one of the 3 legendary Sannin, but we have a mission here. We can't give you any details, but according to Wagakure intelligence, Leaf Shinobi Itachi Uchiha participated in the kidnapping of the terrorist from the stone, Deidara Tsukuri, who is currently considered a missing nin. Former Konoha shinobi, I corrected. The leader sneered contemptuously, as if to say, kids weren't allowed to speak, and turned his entire body toward Jiraiya. I didn't like that. Yes, that's right. Uchiha Itachi is recognized as a missing nin in Konohagakure. And why did you decide that they would go here? Asked Jiraiya. The ANBU hesitated. There were 2 more with Uchiha, an ugly doll aggregate and a man with a blue face, similar to a shark. Sharp, filed-down teeth? The Sannin clarified. Yes. Apparently, the swordsman Hashigaki. Itachi and Kisame were seen in Konoha. Recently, many swordsmen have left the village of the mist. Yes, the ANBU agreed. I was thinking, why did Itachi need to kidnap some terrorist? Is he collecting a museum of unknown animals? Your intelligence must have picked up something worthwhile. Something important, Jiraiya said. He was not happy with the situation. The same color of the cloaks, one of the shinobi recalled. Everyone fell silent. They are recruiting their own group, like Orochimaru's Sound Village. It's just not clear why. But judging by the contingent. You weren't asked, boy. The ANBU leader snapped and glanced warily at the Sannin, afraid for his own lack of restraint. However, Jiraiya didn't show it. Not very polite, I said calmly. Not such an important person. Now when you reach at least a fraction of the proud shinobi began. Jiraiya chuckled. The stone group did not react in any way. Age doesn't make us smarter, I noted. The shinobi fell silent. What did he say? He drawled. Shall we fight? The shinobi was taken aback and glanced sideways at Jiraiya again. I decided not to scare him. No, Sannin. One-on-one. I want to teach you a lesson. I'll kill your self-confidence. I tried to hide the predatory smile at the corners of my lips. Outside of Konoha, I could have fun to my heart's content, and a Sannin wouldn't hurt. I wasn't afraid that the shinobi would tell anyone about the talented boy. He wouldn't want to be embarrassed by losing to a boy. Samurai took a fighting stance, preparing for a fight. He didn't even try to think of anything original to attack his opponent. I easily enough dodged the ground grab technique. He attacked again. To no avail. I circled the dug-up terrain, wearing down the enemy. If he ran out of chakra, he wouldn't be able to move a finger. When the enemy became more thorough and diligent in creating techniques, I went on the offensive. I managed to throw a few kunai, but they didn't reach their target. Oh well. Rasengan. I muttered and rushed at my opponent. He doubled over under the force of the blow. He probably hoped to win me in hand-to-hand combat, but he miscalculated. He was strong enough, but he couldn't stand up to me. He just couldn't handle a fun fight. I turned my back to the fallen shinobi, knowing the fight was over. A knife blade whistled through the air. I caught the kunai with my fingertips. In a fair fight, never aim for the back, I said coldly. His action literally enraged Kurama. "Coward!" spat the fox. "I'll teach him," I promised Kurama. I swung and threw the kunai at the shinobi, applying some of the Kyuubi's chakra. The shinobi was unable to catch the red-hot iron. The kunai whistled slightly above the top of the leader's head, cutting off several dark hairs. "I can't move," he said indignantly. His group stood silently to the side, using the seal of submission. "Do you want to drive the kunai into your stomach yourself?" I asked calmly. This indifference obviously finished him off. "He got it, Naruto," Jiraiya said, laughing. I chuckled. "That's it. Never again underestimate an opponent you don't know." Perhaps the shinobi from the stone saw something in my eyes that made them raise their comrade to his feet and say, "Forgive him." My eyes widened. At least that was something. Although I had made a few enemies, Kyuubi allowed me to remove the seal. The leader stretched his arms and legs. Waving his hand, he ordered his men to stay. "You'll go far," he commented dryly on our fight. "You're not bad for ANBU," Jiraiya stated. "Take a rest or something." "We need to go." The leader refused. "Where are you going?" "To the village of Tumen." "We're going there too," Jiraiya exclaimed. The leader probably winced or turned sour, not being happy with his fellow travelers. He couldn't refuse the talkative Sannin. At that moment, I was sorting through the information I had received from ANBU. And when I heard about their destination, I emerged from my subconscious. The Awagakure shinobi were looking in my direction. "Will you go?" asked Jiraiya, uninitiated in my plans. 5 days. No. If I go alone, I'll get there faster using the fox's chakra. Now that the Sannin's companions have been found, he clearly won't die of boredom on the way, telling the ANBU about his brilliant creations and teaching the shinobi the art of communicating with the female sex. Their journey will be a success. Jiraiya will try his best. Usually ANBU shinobi don't take travel companions, but they'll definitely make an exception for the Sannin, especially when he looks at them with the narrowed kind eyes of a seasoned maniac. And considering that the shinobi thought that Jiraiya taught me how to fight, they'll be afraid to anger him. "No. You know, I have business nearby," I refused. Jiraiya smiled. I wonder if the jaws of the shinobi's open mouths fell out from my address to the teacher? Too bad. I would have sold it on the black market. Sannin bid me a warm farewell, leaving my share of provisions and recommendations in a gift copy of his erotic novel. "He's incorrigible. That's what makes him unique," the fox muttered, settling down to rest. Part 16. Not power . Several days passed. I wasn't worried about Jiraiya at all. The old man had probably driven his fellow travelers crazy long ago. Or had they managed to pay off the annoying old man? Time passed very slowly and measuredly. I spent about half a day moving through the forest with short stops, the rest eating and sleeping. The provisions that the kind Sannin left were barely enough to get to the nearest settlement, where I was able to replenish my strength and food supplies. The fox persistently pestered and bullied his Jinchuriki, and all I could do was howl from exhaustion. In the forest, I slept like a log, and even a company of militant shinobi could not wake me up. I wanted to get to the black market quickly and sniff out some stuff before I found someone on my tail. A boy walking alone in the forest might seem like easy prey to some shinobi. As far as I know, the black market was located in a half-ruined village on the way to the village of Mist. The best representatives of the trading fraternity, naturally illegal, flocked there. However, the den of petty crooks did not scare me off, but on the contrary, inspired hope for a good completion of the assigned mission, since only from the traders could one extract information for a fee. Not always monetary, by the way. But this will have to be sorted out. It is also noteworthy that important things sometimes surfaced on the black market. They say that once the traders got their hands on a weapon from one of the 7 swordsmen of the Mist. I don't know if they were lying or telling the truth. Although it doesn't matter. Traders welcome big fish that sell relatively warm goods. Cooling, I would say. Among the shinobi, there are many who hunt for heads, they just don't all advertise it. It's even scary to stay with someone you know. They'll saw off everything they need easily. I'll have to try hard to be taken seriously. This is very, very problematic, since my appearance and age let me down. First, I need to take care of some kind of conspiracy, although, in principle, no one here would recognize a genin from Konoha, but I shouldn't set up my own. I hid the protector a couple of days ago. In general, I never understood shinobi who revealed their belonging to a village. And how else can you not tell the enemy their name? Many cannot resist it. For which they pay later, out of stupidity. On the road, Jiraiya and I took dark cloaks that would protect us from the cold and hide us from prying eyes. Although, in general, it is problematic to hide the Sanin's build and mane. And quite so. But I can wrap myself up from head to toe. Which is what I did. The weather had completely deteriorated, and when the drizzle turned into a downpour, I realized that there was no need to wait for the sun and that I needed to find a place to spend the night. The black market was already visible in my field of vision, and I decided to take a risk. I hoped the owner would allow me to rest. And tomorrow I could get down to business, especially since the late night was not conducive to trading. I stumbled into the dilapidated, barely standing house, after knocking hard on the door. The gray-faced shinobi with a bandage on his face was not happy when another guest distracted him from his drinking. What? A room. The shinobi measured my small figure with his gaze. Woman? I tactfully kept silent, throwing the kunai just above the top of the owner's head and revealing my face. The shinobi chuckled. Come in. And pay, kid. Pay well. Children are more trouble, so I'll take a lot of ryo from you. By the time the owner and I managed to agree on the price, we were already wheezing from our own bile and hostility towards each other. No one raised their voices, but the tension was spreading like a viscous mass across the room. The owner had 2 guests. He led me upstairs, opening the door to the 3rd room. A musty smell entered my nose. I winced. I had to do something, otherwise the shinobi would slap me while I was sleeping. I doubted his moral principles too much, which prevented me from touching children and kittens. I placed several seals in the room. Fortunately, the knowledge of the Uzumaki clan was passed on to me in full. Partly for this reason, I set out on a journey. For too long, I was tormented by the question, is it true that the Whirlpool village was destroyed during some unheard of war? This version arouses a lot of suspicion. After all my clansmen were scattered across different villages, as if we were deliberately separated. I do not think that strong shinobi using seal techniques were unable to protect their home. Rather, they interfered with someone, rather than simply falling during the war. Here, who and why? This already needs to be clarified. There are many mysteries in the world of shinobi. Only I know that all of them are explained quite simply. Their explanation is banal human treachery. Because of greed and envy, our politicians are ready to destroy villages and annihilate the civilian population. I do not separate myself from them, since I grew up and was brought up according to the same laws. And I do not regret that it turns out this way. Justice died at the beginning of the creation of the world. It is absurd to believe that we are rewarded according to our deserts. But this is just a digression. Will he come or won't he come? I ask Kurama. The fox wakes up. He has noticeably perked up. Go to sleep already. I'll guard our skin. Some of my habits have come from you. Ido's in danger. Isn't it time to let me out? It will be time when I collect a sufficient share of chakra. And tomorrow we have a lot of things to do. I don't want to get any more wounds. Especially from the local population. They are capable of jokes. You never know what they will do this time. That's true. However, it would be much easier for you if you had a material form of a guardian. I'll think about it. Don't delay. I've been waiting long enough as it is. Remember how short-lived my patience is. Are you scaring me? No. It's just that sometimes I have no control over myself either. Part 17. Black market I woke up early. Not even because my arm was sore, but rather because I heard someone sneaking around the room. I opened my eyes and tried to get a better look at the visitor. The early bird turned out to be a huge hulk, tiptoeing towards my luggage. At first I was surprised. Why didn't this bald wonder stab me at the first opportunity? I wouldn't have made a fuss, but there was a chance I'd wake up and scream. While I was digesting the mother truth in my blonde cauldron, the big guy got to my bag and started turning over my things. Such impudence infuriated me, so I quietly crept up to the mourning victim and pulled out a kunai. "So what?" I asked cautiously. The big guy turned to face me. Honestly, I expected to hear a roar or words of mockery. After that, a fight would have started. But I could not have predicted that the bald man would lower his frightened gaze. "Who are you?" I asked, probably smiling stupidly. Bao didn't mean to do anything bad. Bao was just looking for extra Rio. I was even more surprised. "Were you looking? Why couldn't you rob me openly? Were you afraid that my blood would spill on the floor or that you'd have to drag out the body?" "Leave him alone," Kurama muttered. "It's obvious that the boy is not all there." Indeed, Bao's expression was extremely idiotic. I reprimanded him, almost laughing at the situation, and threw him out the door. It's a good thing he woke up in time, otherwise I would have been left without his things. I had to trot to the local black market. Usually you think that it looks gloomy, in the best traditions of some horror stories, where piles of corpses of escaped Nuke-Nin and golden heads are laid out on wooden platforms all around. No, there is nothing like that. Everything is completely legal. No quarrels, fights, pools of blood. You can't surprise us with that anymore. The main traders do their work in daylight, spitting on all the laws and mysteries of selling under the counter. In the evenings, I approached the first merchant in the row. Jars and bottles were laid out in front of him. A medic, obviously. Only he wasn't selling medicine, he was selling poison. The black market rarely has anything really valuable, but if you look hard enough, you can haggle for something worthwhile. I wouldn't have gone there, but my father's documents clearly stated Sujutsu Nakatawa. I didn't know who this Sujutsu was. Probably a money changer or a trader. Among the area with the bounty hunter's spoils, there were small tents, embroidered with colorful sequins. The main dealers of the market usually sit in them, who rake in all the business of selling valuable things. They won't let a boy into the tent, so I could only allow myself to wander around and try to sniff something out. I wasn't going to show off my uniqueness in public, so I just wanted to stay in the shadows. Why do I need problems? No need. On the second day, after a thorough inspection of the market, I meet two eccentrics among the hunters in raincoats, with red clouds. Fashion? Doesn't look like it. A new form of village? Hardly. More likely, some kind of hobby group. Killing people and getting money, how is that not interesting? One of the two seemed completely crazy to me. Blonde and loud. The other looked more reserved. But you never know what to expect from people like that. The masked hunter noticed that I was watching him, but he didn't react to it. As long as I'm dressed like the son of traders, even dangerous ones, and not a shinobi, I don't attract much attention. I couldn't stay in the settlement for long, so I had to act more confidently. My age is my weakness. When I asked who Sujutsu Nakatawa was, they just laughed at me. Well, that means he is known here. I found Nakatawa on about the fourth day. He was a young guy with ink tattoos on his arms and blue-dyed hair. He was just returning to his den when I caught up with him. I didn't have to take out my weapon. After a few moments I realized that I had lost the seal fight. Having caught my breath, I asked the last question. There was no time to hesitate, he would have killed me. I didn't regret that he was a boy. Namike's Minato. And? Nakatawa's narrow eyes narrowed. Why is his name here? I pulled the